Welcome to Startup Grind 2014. No further ado, could you please stand? Give a massive applause for none other than Andrew Smith. There we go, come on, stand up. Woo! Welcome.
Thank you.
Take a seat. Oh, let's move out a little bit here.
Shall I hand my beer?
Oh, that's fine, you can put it on there, it's all right, no problem. Before we start, we've got Jaws the fish in the front here. This is our mascot. Really, really awesome. So if you ever hear hashtag Jaws the fish, please use your brand, jump on board, and tweet him. Okay? It's a way that you can get to network with other entrepreneurs and businesses virally via Twitter. Okay, so there he is. He's going to be watching over us today. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you.
And tell me, all the startup grinds, we always start off because we want to know the actual person. Where were you born?
Pietermaritzburg.
Pietermaritzburg. And did you enjoy Pietermaritzburg?
Probably as a child, yes. I don't think I'd want to live there now. Cape Town's a much more exciting and connected place. But yeah, it was a good upbringing.
Cool. And what school did you go there?
Hilton College.
Hilton College,
Yeah.
Okay. And at what age did you actually move to Cape Town?
21. Yeah.
21?
Well, actually, no, that's not true. I came to UCT for 3 months.
Okay.
I did 3 months of a BSc. I didn't finish a BSc in 3 months, but I
you
made
mean you did the first 3 years in those 3 months?
I did the first 3 months of a BSc in computer science, and then decided that it wasn't worth spending the next 3.5 years, and moved back up to Pietermaritzburg and got a job there.
Was it a gut feeling, or did you just want to get plowed straight into the work field? Or
I think what did it for me was writing a test, a Java programming test with paper and a pencil in a lecture hall full of 400 people, and I saw this is not going to be worthwhile. And I think it was about April, and I'd probably attended about 12 lectures, and I kind of wanted to get on with doing something more meaty and real. So just after the start of the second term, so still the first semester, and went back to Maritzburg and got a job there in a web development company. I was the third person of a company that then ended up growing quite a bit bigger, but managed to get in there and built websites for people. I had a little bit of experience just doing it for myself and as a hobby.
was it strictly HTML, or did you use a framework to build it?
Oh, geez, this was 1999, and we built a site for the museum, the local museum, and we knew nothing about anything. So it was little bits of JavaScript and HTML cobbled together, and then someone sort of introduced us to ASP. Said, "Wow, this is amazing! You can make dynamic sites." And no, it was the early days of internet development, and kind of learnt as we went along. Yeah.
And do you find that basis now for Yuppiechef later on has obviously been a great?
Well, yeah, I mean, building sites for other people is how a lot of, I guess, people end up starting something of their own, because it's nice when someone else is paying you to learn and to get the basic skills. So it was a good foundation. We also built business systems for courier companies and things, which ended up helping with some of the more behind the scenes type of stuff, business intelligence type things, and working with big databases and other people's data. So there was that side, and there was the branding and marketing side, and spending other people's money learning your AdWords lessons, which then eventually when you start spending your own money, you've got a bit of a background. So I think we had a lot of the foundations. I didn't have any retail background. Just to say also that Shane and Paul, who are the other, Shane the co-founder and Paul sort of one of the first employees, are with us here. So when I speak I'm speaking the royal we at the same time. We had no retail experience, so that was the one kind of key ingredient that we were missing, but we certainly had a lot of web development and marketing and branding experience.
Now, you got this new job, and your parents were like, my son, you're supposed to have gone to college, and what was their...
They were surprisingly supportive. I think that they tended to trust the decisions and what and the direction that
being a good boy that you were.
That I was, yeah. And I think it was costing a lot of money, from Maritzburg to come down to UCT, and I think they could see the bills racking up. And thought, well, maybe we can short circuit this a bit. But no, they were supportive, and then I was fortunate to get a job. I mean, I don't know how easy that is these days as an 18-year-old to get a job somewhere, but it's kind of fairly early on. It looked like things were going okay.
Okay, and then so you got back, you got the job there. Then did you come back to Cape
So
Town,
after 2.5 years in Maritzburg working for a company there, I decided to move down to Cape Town. My sister was here and I knew people here, and I started a kind of Cape Town office of the Maritzburg office. So also building, so using their brand, but then finding our own clients and building sites and systems and things for them.
Did you actually, having started, did you have to go and find the clients yourself, or was it a 2 or 3 man team that came down?
No, well, you see, initially I could keep doing some work for the Maritzburg team, which was a nice, easy to start. No, it was just me, and then fairly soon after that, Shane sort of got involved. He was more on the design side, and I was more on the development side.
Is that how you guys met?
Well, no, we had known each other before that, but we started working together in that context, and so that was a good partnership. And we just sort of worked the networks of trying to find people and working as effectively like a mini agency. You have that struggle of you start each month and you go out there and you've got to make a sale and find someone who you can sell some time to. And well, I'm sure we'll get to it in a moment, but that was sort of come to that point where you think we just got to stop selling our time. We need to head into doing something else.
Okay, so you started the company, you get going with the actual company in Cape Town. Obviously you're on a part-time basis, getting your own businesses going, and did you and Shane started Bug Zapper? Tell us about that story.
Yeah, so in 2005, I think everyone who sells their time by the hour wants to kind of wake up on a Monday morning and look in the bank account and see how much did I make this weekend while I was sleeping. And we never do, because we always just sell our time. And everyone talks about the great ideas that we had, and we decided that we were going to actually do something about it. So we were going to build, e-commerce seemed like the easiest thing to do because we had the skills, so we were going to build an e-commerce store. And there were 4 of us at the time who were working together, so we set aside 3 days, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and everyone had to come with a product that we were going to sell online. So we came with 4 different ideas, and we then kind of voted, and it was half vote, half draw out of a hat. And the product that we chose was the Bug Zapper, which who owns a Bug Zapper, was bought a Bug Zapper before? Do you know what it is? It's an electric racket. Or it's like a tennis racket with electric strings that you swat flies and mosquitoes. We didn't make up the product. One of the 4, his brother-in-law imported it, but we just thought of selling it online, and that was the product that we chose. And so Thursday, the 4 of us get together in a room, and we built the site, and we found a courier company, and we hooked up some payment, and we made the thing live on the Saturday at about lunchtime, and we forgot about the marketing. So we didn't sell it. We sold one. We sold one to my mom. And... But after that, Bug Zapper became exactly what we hoped it would be. We ended up selling probably about R1 million worth, or maybe about 1.5 million rands worth of Bug Zappers between 2005 and when we finally kind of handed it over last year. It was being run for a number of years by Shane's dad from his flat in Kenilworth, and it was exactly what it was. We would make a sale, you put the Bug Zapper in the box, and you write the waybill, and you send it off. But no one was, that might sound like a lot, but when you divide it over 9 years, it doesn't add up too much. So, but it was the start of that. It was exactly what we had wanted to be, and when it was fantastic as well. A single product site is a great way to start, because you don't even need a shopping cart. You just kind of buy now, and it's there, and you don't need your stock is pretty easy as well. You've only got one product. So it was kind of an easy introduction into the world of e-commerce.
Okay, so you forgot about the marketing.
Yeah.
But now, a couple of years later, you have sold over 1 million. Did you guys remember
well,
the
marketing?
rands
worth, not $1 million. $1 million Bug Zappers would have been nice, but $1 million rands worth.
So you obviously remember the marketing at some point in stage.
Well, you see, I think the great lesson with the Bug Zapper was that it was a surprisingly sort of viral product, and that you're standing around a braai and there's a mosquito or something, and you go get your Bug Zapper and you swat it, and the person next to you says like, "Oh my word, that's amazing!
I want one of those."
I want one of those.
Yeah.
And if I said to you right now, tomorrow you must buy a bug zapper, what would you do? You would probably end up online saying, you know, mosquito zapping racket, and in fact on the rackets we had printed bug zapper, etc. So you know that was the point. But it was a lesson in that, well, certainly in the early days of e-commerce in a country like South Africa. I think we're still in the early days, but 2005 was even earlier in the early days. That people are not going to. If I said to you tomorrow you need to buy a electric razor, you'd go to, I don't know, Clicks or Game or something. But if I said to you tomorrow you need to buy a bug zapper or a Canadian flag, because the next business that we got involved in was called Flag Kit, which sold country flags and flagpoles and things. And in an early stage e-commerce world, people will buy things online that they don't know where to find in a physical store. It's only in much more mature markets will you end up buying something that you will actually find that you can find in a store, and then you're playing up convenience or price or something. But that's where Bug Zapper started. So we did a little bit of marketing. You did some AdWords for, you know, mosquitoes, pests and things like that. But largely it was, you know, you sell some and then people see them and they keep on buying them. We did little bits of PR. We got into popular mechanics, which I think was a big boost in the beginning. But yeah, no, it was complete. So there certainly was no money to spend on marketing. That was very little. Yeah.
So while you're running that one, you guys, okay, this is cool. One product. Yeah. Let's create another product, being the flag kits. Now, did you decide why not integrate it into one website? Why go for two different complete websites?
So, well, actually, Flag Kit was our client's website. That one of the clients asked us to build a site to sell flag kits. So, you know, flag and a pole and a bracket and stick it on your wall. So we built the site, and then he needed to move on, and so he said, "Do you want to take it over?" And we turned it into a site that sold flags, country flags and poles, and so we kind of lucked on that business, and it did relatively well, and we kind of did have some shared services type of thing. So there were separate sites, but they had, you know, there was one phone number and one bank account, and we thought we could keep rolling out these sites. You're about to ask me kind of what was the one failure, and I'll precede that question by telling you the next thing we sold was the rat zapper, which I say in a moment of vulnerability. So the Rat Zapper was a fantastic product. I'll get the sales pitch out in a moment. The Rat Zapper was a box that when the rats walked into to get to the cheese, they were electrocuted, which sounds bad, but is actually very humane because, you know, they're dead instantly. They're not sort of whimpering around with a broken neck for half the night. And then after that, we've got the Bug Zapper and we've got the Rat Zapper. We think like, well, how many more pest exterminating products are there?
Online pest, exactly, yeah.
So we bought the domain pesthq.com and designed a logo and a whole brand identity to sell this multitude of pest exterminating products. But you know, when you're kind of standing around the braai and someone says, "What do you do?" and you say, "Well, I sell pest exterminating products online." It didn't have a ring, so we decided to. We didn't go ahead with Pest HQ.
Okay, so you didn't actually even start with it. You just
we didn't. We never made Pest HQ live. No, we did sell some rat zappers and.
I see ratzapper.org is still going.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I was checking out last night.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. Okay, now in this time of Bug Zapper, Flag Kits, Rat Zapper, your HQ stories.
Yeah.
How were you making a living? Were you making a living off these?
Not even remotely. We were working from our lounge in Plumstead, which helped a bit, and we were selling our time to clients. So
so you're still doing the website.
We were still doing websites and still billing people by the hour, and I remember the early days setting revenue targets for our e-commerce companies. You know, once we've made that much money, then we can stop doing work for clients. And they seemed very, very far off goals, and because it's difficult, you know, you're making small sales at a time. But it was part of this process of, well, let's just keep selling sites. Now that we're setting up sites, now that we know how to do it, we will keep creating more. And that's when Shane in 2006 had the idea of selling kitchen tools. So he had been a kind of closet chef, but in the 90s, you know, chefing was for druggies and dropouts, and but he had done his work experience and
the TV series
as a chef.
Haven't hit yet.
Yeah, no, there were no TV celebrity chefs, and it's only really been in this, well, not this decade anymore, the 2000s that cooking became something that wasn't for the the servants in the back. Open plan kitchens and everything. It became the industry that we see it as now. So he had this idea of selling kitchen tools, and so we went to a chef friend of ours and said, if you had, because I remember this time we were selling Bug Zap, it was a single product. So we said, if there were going to be 12, we thought, sure, maybe we can stretch it to 12. If there were 12 tools that you couldn't do without, we thought maybe we could start a site that had the kind of 12 essential kitchen tools. And this chef friend of ours said, well, I don't know about 12, but there are these amazing things. There's these tongs that I have that you can't get in South Africa. I got them from Canada or somewhere, and if only you could sell those, because we can't get those. And we looked at these tongs, and they were a brand that we happened to know the importer of into the country, and it kind of showed us that there were brands of kitchen tools that people wanted that they couldn't get in a physical store. The physical stores that existed they sold some brand name stuff, but they also sold a lot of own brand stuff, and there were products that maybe you had grown up with, or your parents had, or you had experienced overseas and you wanted. And so we set up Yuppiechef in 2006 with literally that one brand of product, QZ Pro. We still sell QZ Pro, and that was the first and only brand. And so it was about trying to get a bit of a gap in the market to sell branded kitchen tools that you couldn't get somewhere else.
Okay. So you imported the importing, exporting stories?
Oh no, we didn't import. So there was a local importer of that, and still we import a little bit now, but still largely brands are sold through people who have the rights to distribute them. And we are a retailer.
Would you ever go into actually completely importing everything from scratch?
You can. A lot of the known brands they're already represented in the country. South Africa is not so isolated anymore. And if you go into international stores, you've got a lot of what we sell here. We do import some of our own products, and we started creating Yuppiechef branded products as well. Okay. And so, but people still want the products that are available.
Are there more headaches than the ones that have already got a distribution today?
They're different headaches. When you're making a product, you get to control various aspects of it, which is good, but you also have to take responsibility for other sides. And there's also generally bigger quantities, and there's more financial pressure, but there are definitely advantages as well. So we'll slowly move in that direction.
Now, with the AdWords of a single product, now you're going over to 12 products.
Yeah.
AdWords, lessons?
Yeah, so marketing in general is, that's what everyone wants to know. They say, well, how did you get people to the site, and how did you make the first sales? And actually, one of the questions here was, which I'll answer it already. It was, there we go. It's at the top. How did you get your first non-paying, non-friend, non-family member, non-bribe customer?
Non-bribed.
So if you come to our offices on Westlake Business Park, and as you walk through the front door, there's a glass sort of wall of the first 200 customers, and so it's their actual names. And the first customer is Bevan Dryden, Shane's dad. So we continue the legacy of selling to family members. And
they always support us.
That was in August 2006. And between August and December, so how many months is that? 5 months, we made 8 sales, and 7 of them were to friends and family members. So the first name, we know her name and we know who she is, because that was a moment of, oh my goodness, there's someone that we don't know who gave us money over the internet, trusting that we're going to send them a product. How miraculous is that?
Oh, very trusting person that.
And so it really was a slow start. And I think people want the silver bullet. We looked for the silver bullet, absolutely. What's this thing that we can do that will just, open the floodgates of sales? And fairly early on, we hired a PR company to get us some press and media. And they got us a fairly chunky article in Die Burger, which apparently has a big readership. And it was going to come out on the Sunday. And literally, we kind of waited on the Sunday, monitoring the server in case everything went down. And there was not even a blip. There was absolutely nothing. And shortly after that, we got into the Sunday Times on the kind of Barry Ronger page, and was like, what's hot this week? And it was Yuppiechef, and there's a big picture of a KitchenAid mixer. And we didn't quite stay up watching the server, but we did. We took the traffic stats the week after and the week before, and we overlaid them on top of each other, and there was no difference. It was exactly the same. But if you look over a long term, there the traffic slowly inched up. And the lesson there was that there is no silver bullet. It all added towards us. So PR was a factor, because for an online store, particularly in 2006, 7, 8, there's a big credibility gap. And you can do online advertising, but who are these people? Are they the Russian mafia out to steal my credit card details?
Sure.
Whereas if Oprah magazine says shop on Yuppiechef and buy this nice product, well, it came from Oprah. They must be she must have been there herself and checked it out. So there's a lot of credibility that that consumers still put in traditional media. So we try to use that. We try to use PR and word of mouth. You know, when we first turned on free delivery in probably about 2007 or 2008, it was free delivery on anything to anywhere. And so we will send a spatula to Kuruman. And people say, well, you obviously work that into the prices. Well, you can't work a 300 Rand delivery into a 50 Rand spatula. The maths just doesn't work. But it was about trying to do things that are remarkable, trying to be remarkable so that people remark about you. So there was a word of mouth strategy. There's obviously an online advertising, you know, particularly people who are searching for particular brands or products. We're trying to reach them. And then traditional media and slowly build it up. But slowly is the word because it took many years.
Out of working with PR agencies doing marketing yourself, what was the biggest lesson and biggest good lesson and the biggest worst lesson that you could have taken from that?
Well, the biggest lesson is probably what I've touched on now, is that there aren't any silver bullets. And when you kind of sign up for something, you think this is going to change it, particularly if it's going to cost you money. You know, someone says, well, if we partner together in this, you know, it's just going to lead to so many sales. And there's obviously been opportunities over the years, and some we've taken and some we haven't. But the lesson is that I don't think, well, not a brand like ours you have to win trust to make a sale. That's our strategy, really. And you can't buy people's trust. And is that our time up or something? You can't buy trust. And so marketing is there and it's useful and it's necessary, but there is no silver bullet. And that's something that we have learnt. And a lot of what we try and do is get people to actually experience us and to not try and hoodwink them with a clever marketing scheme. And so we give away a lot of vouchers. Like, apparently we're giving away 2 vouchers tonight. I don't remember agreeing to that, but there you go. Maybe I did. We give away vouchers because we believe that if someone uses us once, they will use us again. And so that's an important lesson. In terms of the negative lessons, I think that nobody cares about your brand as much as you do. And that's a lesson that we learnt at times with just sort of experiencing the work of people we tried to outsource to or get someone else to do it, and we ended up most of the time reverting back to doing it ourselves because this is your brand, and to send someone out on your behalf to speak about you to the press or in an advert or in some sort of marketing campaign, they're not going to say it in the way that you want them to say it. At various times we've outsourced our AdWords campaigns, we've outsourced our PR, we've outsourced advertising and design, and most of the time it ends up coming back to us because we want to care about it. This is you don't want someone else to speak about your kids on your behalf. You're the best ones to speak about them. So we try.
They don't do bad jobs, but
no, we felt like we could do it more effectively and with more authenticity and. There's various.
It's your baby, it's like.
It is our baby, and I think that customers see through marketing shams. I mean, the great one from one of our famous local banks was that Ask Once campaign. So, if you have to ask us more than once to solve your problem, we'll donate X amount to charity because we're on this big drive to improve our customer service. And we knew people who worked at that bank who they'd never heard of that campaign. It's something that the marketing agency came up with and stuck on billboards and on TV, and they decided that'll be let's portray that we care about customers through our marketing, where actually internally nothing has changed. So we believe that in a modern, connected culture that we are now, that your culture is your brand. The culture of your company is the brand that is portrayed. You can't have someone else portray your brand for you when you have a separate culture yourself. And so we want to start by being the culture, and then it's easy for us to portray that through our marketing efforts.
Staying on the marketing, 2005 versus 2008, let's say 15, because you're in the game. What are the trends you're seeing compared to then and now?
Well, I think that the online, really in the last 2 years in South Africa, when I talk about online, I'm talking about online retail, so e-commerce, is so much more mainstream now than it was even 2 years ago. I mean, even 2 years ago, for an e-commerce company to be at Startup Grind, nobody spoke about e-commerce. There was no e-commerce. I mean, Kalahari's been around since, floppy disks, but other than that, there has been no e-commerce in South Africa. There's no traditional retailers who've taken it seriously. There are no were hardly any niche stores like us. There were hardly any of the more generalist stores. And I say 2 years, I don't know about the exact date, but really in these last 2 years where Rocket Internet came in and they launched all of their stores and retailers started getting on board, Mr. Price and Woolworths and Pick and Pay starting to take it more seriously, and more of the niche stores and then all the daily deals type of stores and suddenly all of us, everyone is buying something online, and most people who work in an office with a decent number of people, you'll see some delivery guy arriving all the time. So our kind of shift, where in the beginning we were trying to convince you to shop online, we're trying to convince you to shop with us, and then we're trying to sell that exact product. So there was like 3 hurdles to go through. Whereas these days, I think the convincing to shop online is it's not finished. The job's not done, but a lot of that has been taken away. And so. And for us now, we have a brand which a lot of people know about. So now we can focus more about why should you buy this particular product. So our shift has gone from the really hard job of actually, no, it will arrive, and yes, your credit card details are safe, to more about, well, why should I buy this particular product from you?
Okay. The conversational style that you guys created with your Twitter campaigns and everything, whose brainchild was that?
Sure. Well, in the early days, John Cherry was a fairly sort of well-known blogger and marketing guy, and we had a bit of a trade exchange, so we helped him out with some technology, and he helped us out with some of our brand voice stuff, and you still see some of that early influence, and he really helped us to kind of get through the rubbish that brands put out there and say you are human beings and speak like human beings and win customers over word of mouth. And we're like, John, we've only ever had 3 customers. How many people could they possibly tell? He said, just stick with it. Just be human beings, and it will work. So that was an early influence. And right from the beginning, the idea of handwritten cards. There's another question. Who has bought from Yuppiechef in the room? Wow, that's quite good. Over the years, more and more hands go up, and it just fills my heart. It's true. The rest of you, shame on you. I hope you win the vouchers. So, if you bought from us, you would have got a handwritten card, and that's obviously taken a lot of effort and time and systems and money to get that right. But what that is doing is it's saying there are human beings on the other side of the internet. Because I think that sometimes we have the impression that if I order something, then somewhere in an anonymous warehouse, an arm picks something off a shelf and drops it on a conveyor belt, and it gets packed in a box and it arrives at my door. And if the wrong thing arrives at my door, then I can't shout at the robot, and I'm going to have to wait on hold on a call center and push buttons and get cut off if I can find the phone number. And so from the beginning, from the first sale, the story goes the first sale, I assume that's right, we have sent out something handwritten in every box. Initially it was a letter on a piece of paper inside an envelope. So these days it's a card, and it's showing that there is a human being. There was someone there who actually looked at your order, looked at your name, tried to write something that was relevant to the product that you bought, and said, welcome back if you've been there before, which gives you the confidence that if something goes wrong, I can pick up the phone and there will be a human being. So that's something that we've tried to do from the beginning, is say, we're trying to win. Nobody actually meets a Yuppiechef customer or, employee. Whereas at a physical store, there's the teller and the security guard and there's people there. Whereas for us, we have to actually convince people that there are human beings on the other side of this order. And I think that's then carried through in everything that we do. So we, in our sort of social media and our newsletters and what we write, we show pictures of us as people in the office and what we're doing and the company breakfast that we have, because we're trying to build the confidence that this is real company with real people that can help you out.
I was actually at the offices yesterday.
Oh, were you?
Yes, I was. Imagine. And I love the story about the laptop bag that came, and you wanted to buy a laptop, and you were like, next time you're around.
Yeah. So the story goes that right in the early days, one of us needed a laptop bag, so we went to Google and we said laptop bag online, and we came up with some site, and we add to cart and check out and buy, and it arrived in this brown box. And inside there was the invoice, and we gave that to the bookkeeper, and we used the laptop bag, and everything was fine. They delivered on their promise. But a month later, we needed another laptop bag. So we went to Google, and we Googled laptop bag, and maybe we found the same site, or maybe we found a different site. And nothing in that experience had convinced us to to actually hold on to these people as a brand that we could relate to. So that's our packaging, but hopefully it's also the entire experience, which says, this must be like receiving a gift from your grandmother, brown paper packages tied up with string. It must be a real experience so that you remember it. And we put generally there's a fridge magnet that you put on your fridge, and there's the card that you hopefully don't throw away, you keep somewhere nice on the mantelpiece, and so the next time you need something, you will come back. And then also we try and engage through delivering great content and through really useful and valuable newsletters, not just product pitches, so that you will stay in a conversation with us. And whenever you think you need, it's not just kitchen utensils. Now this is our little plug. We also food ingredients and beer and wine and everything that you need around food and hosting, that you will think about us.
I took a gander at your stats yesterday on Google Plus.
Oh, right.
And you've got 339,000 followers on Google Plus. That must be like every single Google Plus person ever.
In the world.
In the world.
Yeah.
So was there a
Plus
massive drive for Google Plus? Because your Twitter stats is 14,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in the top about 0.5% of South Africa. But Casper Lee is 1.32 million.
Twitter followers.
Twitter followers, yes. So I'm just catching
Casper,
up
if you're listening, tweet us, please.
Yeah, come on, Casper.
Mention Yuppiechef.
Seriously.
So
And
Google Plus is an interesting. I don't really understand Google Plus. I don't know if anyone does. I think when you register for Google Plus in South Africa, we are a recommended. Start following these people, because the engagement we get on Google Plus is you'll see it. We'll post something on Google Plus and it gets a couple of comments and a couple of pluses, and we post a very similar thing on Facebook or Twitter, and we get a lot more engagement. So we've got the numbers, but engagement is difficult on Google Plus.
Google Plus? Okay. What is actually what social network do you find your most engagement on?
We could have a whole evening talking about social networks and social media and community management, and in fact our community management Marina does a great talk about it. The short answer is that there's the different social platforms reach people in different ways. You go to Facebook for a particular type of experience and purpose, and you go to Twitter for an experience, and you go to Pinterest, and you go to Instagram, and so we don't create one piece of content and spread it across every platform. We try and think, what do the people in these different platforms want from us, and so there is a difference, and so I wouldn't say none of them are better than any others. Sure. They're there for different reasons.
Do you have different people managing per channel, or do you have one person managing across the board with CRM tools? Or
we have one community manager, but there's other people who contribute. Obviously, there's a content team who will make stuff and photographers and things, but generally it goes through a community manager.
On the business side of Yuppiechef, you guys went over to meet Tony Troha from, Anglo American.
Wow. Was this from an interview? Yeah.
Yeah. And tell us more. What does he actually tell you? I find this interesting. I want to know.
I'm not sure exactly which version of the story that you read, but so Tony Troha, who's the ex-CEO of Anglo American, and we're talking to him about our business and handwritten cards, and he says, it'll be a shame when you have to stop writing handwritten cards. And we said, we'll never have to stop writing handwritten cards. He said, well, surely when you scale, that won't be able to scale with you. And I said, well, if we have to hire a room full of grannies, we will do that, because handwritten cards will stay. And almost now it's become a point of pride. We'll never be able to stop because we made that statement. But we do. We hire rooms full of people at times, particularly around Christmas. And for us, it's an important enough thing. And if it worked when we were small, we believe we'll be able to scale it when we're big. But I can imagine someone who's run a company that size. The rules are different these days with online and with smaller companies. And I think what customers expect these days is there's a lot higher touch, and they want authenticity, and they want something different. So we think we have to continue with the way that we started.
Discounting products. Do you guys ever do it? Do you think it's a good thing, bad thing? What are your views? This
is a contentious issue. I'll see what Shane is going to listen up carefully. There's the story we've often used is something like Viglietti Motors. So when you drive into town and you pass Viglietti Motors and you see that Porsche, you think, oh, wonderful, 20% off this month only. You just don't see that. Ferrari or Porsche or whatever it is, any of those brands, you never see 20% off on a Ferrari. And that's kind of the line that we used for a long time, is that if you're trying to sell something which is a this is a really quality product, and then you discount it at some point, the people who've just bought it or the people who are wanting to buy it can get a sense of, oh, so it's not as good, or it's not what it was. So on the whole, our policy has largely been, let's not compete on price, let's compete on service and range and other things like that. But we're in competitive industries, and it's a lot more competitive than it is now, and customers are price sensitive and price aware. But we still try and add value. We're trying to add value in the best ways that we can, and sometimes that might be bundling two things together, or offering some other type of special or offer, or get this for free when you buy that, and try and maintain the value of the products as much as possible. And there's not always margin. I mean, we're selling products that are branded and people can compare the prices, and if we discount crazily, it can get a short-term win, but long-term there will be no Yuppiechef. So it's a difficult balance. It's something that we keep having to walk.
How long did it take for Yuppiechef to actually turn a profit?
How long is it taking?
How long
until Yuppiechef turns a profit? So I just didn't get the tense of your question.
Sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Yes.
There's an interesting line. Jeff Bezos, if you read the Everything Store, which is his latest book, he says we could be profitable whenever we want. We'll just turn the switch and there it'll go. But in the meantime, we're trying to build a business. And profit is a fairly nebulous thing, because it depends how much you want to turn a profit and how much you want to invest. But I think an easier way of, perhaps a simpler answer to that is, when did it fully support us? Because we started and that's probably in this context a more relevant question, is that we started this as a hobby on the side with not as a hobby, but I guess as a smaller side project. We didn't have any investment money or capital or debt or loans from the bank or something. This was something we were starting, and so we had to make all of our money through other means. And as we start making a little bit of income, there's always that struggle. Well, we could now take a little bit of money from this, or we could hire someone or invest in something else or spend more on marketing. And there's this, if you imagine something like a spinach plant or a lettuce, as that first bit of green pops through the ground, you snip it off and you eat it. It's not good for the plant. So you've got that constant struggle of trying to invest in the plant without but you've actually also got to eat as well. So it was probably about 3 or 4 years before we took any money out of the company as a salary, and it was probably about 5 years before we were actually, this is maybe even longer than, maybe 6 years before, this is what,
so this
is it.
So years
yeah, probably 3 years. This is what we do. We don't do anything else. We don't need any other work. And that's, I think, a really scary stat, because there's people who want to start their new business, and perhaps they don't have the means to have too much debt or investment or something else, and think, well, in 6 months' time, I've got enough money to last that long. And it takes a lot longer than just about anyone realizes. So that's, I guess, an easier answer to your question. Was many years before the business supported us, and it is, times are still, we haven't arrived yet. It's still the early days. It's still investment. We're still a long way to go as a company.
Woolworths, you hijacked one of their advertising things called the Lovebird campaign. Now, tell us a bit about that story. I really enjoy it.
So that was a couple of years ago. They on the 31st of January, so they were about to launch their Valentines campaign, Woolworths Valentines campaign, and they had a whole lot of posters up in their stores, and was kind of there sort of dipping their toes into social media. So it was one of these kind of like tweet us, I don't know, was it even Twitter? I don't know, but basically go to this site and social something or another, and you can win something or another, and it was Woolies Lovebirds .co.za. But they hadn't bought that domain, they'd bought Woolies Lovebird.co.za. And on the posters in all these stores was the wrong address. So we actually saw a photo of one of these banners on the Sunday night and bought the domain name that they had meant to buy. And arrived in the office on Monday morning, and so Shane and I on Sunday night, and arrived on Monday morning. We had maybe 3 staff at that stage, and we said to them, this is what we've done. Now what do we do? What do we do with that? So we thought, well, we'll point it to Yuppiechef, and then all these thousands of people will go there. And we thought, well, it might work, but what if we do something more interesting? So we pointed it to a blog post, and we said, Woolies, we have your lovebirds. We're holding them ransom. And if you want your birds back, you have to match what our customers, what our community donates to one of the charities that we support. And we then were a little bit scared. Well, what it's up to 5,000 rand. So you got to match up to 5,000 rand what our community donates to this charity, and we put it out there and sort of hoped for the best. And during that afternoon, we got a phone call from some fairly panicked people saying, "Oh dear," but they were actually great, and they played along, and they said that's fine. You can sort of keep the domain for now, because really probably wasn't ours to hold on to, but they said keep it for now and we'll match. And I think they actually set up to 10,000 rand. We'll match and let's do this. And we ended up raising about 120,000 rand.
Wow.
We got on the Jeremy Mansfield on the 94.5. We got on TV. We had various other things, and people really loved this idea of the kind of David versus Goliath. There were some people who thought that we were in collaboration with Woolworths, which was a total laugh, because we were nowhere in their radar at all. But yeah, we ended up raising money for a charity. We got more traffic to the ransom page than they got to their campaign.
Wow.
Than Woolies Lovebird's campaign. So I think it was a success for us, and it did some good. So it was a fun thing.
That's awesome. Starting off the company, you obviously funded a lot of it in the beginning and stuff. Tell us about bootstrapping or getting funded. What are your views on that?
Sure. You know, when you start something yourself, so bootstrapping or whatever words you want to call it, if you have some money for someone else, you get to control things. So you get to decide the direction that you want to take. And that was certainly one of the arguments that we had, that we want to do this ourselves. We want to be in control of our own destiny and not get ripped apart by investors or not have huge pressure from debt. And I think that worked for us, but we perhaps had slightly unique circumstances in that we had a skill that we could carry on selling, and to make enough money to support us while we were doing that. Plus, we were starting something which wasn't hugely capital intensive. We launched we didn't have to hold any stock. We got stock as we made the sales, so we didn't have that much equipment. We could do the work ourselves. We were developers and designers and marketers, and we learned how to be finance people and operations people, and so we could do that. I don't know if that's possible, and I wouldn't stand up and say every business must start bootstrap, because there are other businesses that would want to do it differently. I'm glad for the process that we went through, and I think that a lot of early stage companies end up giving a lot of equity away, obviously at understandably very low valuations, and down the line that's going to make it tricky for them. So it worked for us to start with no capital. It also worked because I think in 2006 the market was slow and small. I think if you tried to start something in e-commerce today, the market is a lot more competitive, and you probably can't take 5 years to sort of get off the ground. You probably need something quicker. And we've even seen in the last 2 years, even just what we pay for AdWords advertising has gone up. So what was cheap and free in the early days is now more expensive. So I don't have a one-size-fits-all answer to that. I do think that South Africa has a real lack of investors who are willing to put money in kind of for the long shot. I think that most of your investors here are well, there is some sort of venture capital, but if you think of more the angel type of investment, there's someone who's taking the money out of their sort of nest egg, their life savings, and going, you can have this, but you better give it back pretty quickly, and it better be guaranteed. Whereas I think in a lot of some more developed markets, particularly like we all look to the US, that's where you read everything from, there seems to be enough people willing to throw money on 100 horses, hoping that one or two or three of them comes home. And you don't really see that so much here. You see a lot more pressure to perform. But there's some positive things, the 88 mile per hour type of startup environments. You're starting to see that now, but I still think that we have a lack of investors here who are willing to take the bets that startups need, because there's almost nobody in the South African market with any credibility. Everything is going to be a gamble, but hopefully that might change.
Walking through your warehouse yesterday, very organized, and these guys walking around with these cell phones and tablets and very tricky style, as they say. Tell us about it. Okay, you're using Clojure and Android and Bluetooth technologies in there. Did you develop those systems yourself, or did you get guys in to help you with that?
So, fortunately, our background is in development, so we can do these things ourselves, and it's been a real incremental process. It's a little bit like seeing your son all grown up, and someone else says, wow, they've grown fast. You don't really think that they've grown fast, because it's been a step-by-step process. So, the very early days, we had a system where you made a sale and an email arrived and that was it. So now you've got an email, and then all of a sudden sort of 3 orders would come in the space of a week, and so we printed out each order and you put the piece of paper there, and then as the stock arrives you put the product on top of the piece of paper, and when everything's there you put it in the box and send it out, and suddenly you think, well, that's not really working, because we need to be able to collate the orders together and send them to the supplier at once, not just each time we make a sale. So start building a system which can just sort of group the orders by supplier and send it out. And every day we always laugh when banks have their code freeze time over Christmas, where nothing can change. I mean, Christmas is when we do the most coding, because that's when panic, we can't cope, quickly fix something, make it better. So we've grown our systems as demand has meant it, and we're able to. We don't know whether what we're doing is best practice. We're doing what makes the most sense, and what makes it. And we have crazy things like a customized handwritten card in every order. There is no off-the-shelf warehouse systems that can facilitate that type of thing. So to an extent, we've had to build things from scratch.
Awesome. We're going to ask a few questions now from the audience. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch here. 7 votes for this one. Warehousing, logistics, customer service. How do you startups get it right?
Okay, so I think those are probably, warehousing logistics is probably different to customer service. I think those are 2 different questions to answer. Warehousing logistics, well, we got it right by just growing really, really slowly. That was, when you're dealing with 1 order a week and then 2 orders a week, you can kind of cope with that. I know of other companies other e-commerce companies that have launched in South Africa with a lot more money, and so on day 1 they have 100 orders and it's just chaos, because what do you do with that? Whereas we were Amazon made, in 1994, they made $11,000 in their first week. Wow, that is amazing. But then they had scale problems pretty quickly, whereas we had 1 sale in the first month. There's not that many warehousing and logistics problems. So we handle that by just slowly increasing. There's a saying which says we want to grow as fast as we can, but as slowly as we need to, or you reverse those things around, which is basically, we obviously want to grow fast, but as fast as we can, while still maintaining quality. And we stress about every order. Every customer must get what's in the box. I mean, what's in the box must be what they ordered, and it must get there quickly. So there's that side. That's a big question. The second part about customer service, how do you get that right? You get that right by caring. That's fundamentally, if you care, well, you as the startup owner, but then everyone you employ really cares about customers. Customer service is not that hard. We no longer use Hello Peter because they changed their systems. But when we were using Hello Peter, we had, I think, pretty much 100% happy faces, thumbs up. Hello Peter themselves had a 50% happiness rating on Hello Peter, which I found quite ironic. But and I don't say this arrogantly, I say this because I think it really is simple. If you care about each customer and you care about the order, people only complain through systems like Hello Peter or through social media when they are gutful. If you phone and someone answers the phone and they solve their problem, why would you ever tweet about it or Facebook about it or Hello Peter about it? You only do that when you've tried to get through the traditional channels. So if you answer the phone and if you reply to email and if you do what you say you're going to do, and there's amazing stories of we sent a frying pan to someone and it arrived and the handle was broken. I don't know whether it broke en route or whether it was maybe faulty before it left, and the person said, my frying pan arrived and it's broken, and we said, no problem, we'll send you another one. And we got this gushing letter back which says, that it's the best service we've ever experienced, and I'm going to tell all my friends about you, and it was actually for my boss, and you saved my bacon by getting it right, and oh, that's so amazing. We thought, we sent a broken frying pan, and we then sent a fixed frying pan. It's not rocket science. It's just it's basic caring. So customer service, that is. But if you don't care as a sort of company or the founders or the leaders, and you hire people who don't care, then I can imagine customer service being really tricky.
But does that sending those broken ones? Most companies will go, no, I've got to look at my bottom line. We can't do this. We can't take these knocks. Did you decide, okay, we're going to take these knocks and just either take the knocks and take longer to become profitable, or actually just build it into the price, or what?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily about taking knocks, because I don't think that it's legal to sell a broken frying pan. It's just that I don't think that companies empower the people who deal with customers to be able to use initiative and permission to actually fix a problem. I think that sometimes it will be, yes, we'll fix your broken frying pan, but it has to go through 3 different signatures and approvals and sign off and to the senior manager, and in 2 months' time maybe you'll get your fixed frying pan. Where we've tried to empower the customer service team to say, fix the problem. If that means resending it or sending a voucher to apologize or whatever it is, do what it takes. And I think the guts or the bravery to empower whoever is dealing with the customers to do it, that's the real key.
Cool. How do you build your customers' confidence in your business to actually proceed with an actual sale rather than just review or explore product?
Well, I think that fundamentally e-commerce is you have to get over the fact that even the best sites are going to have conversion rates of 2 or 3%. If you've got a 3% conversion rate, you're doing really well. So you have hundreds of people looking at a product for a few people buying it. So I think that some of that could be potentially, like, it's just frustrating. Why is no one buying it? That is, everyone is going to experience that. People do browse and shop online. The credibility side and the confidence side is a process, I guess, for some of the things I've already spoken about. Part of the confidence in the business will be, well, if you say your business is amazing, there's a difference to someone else saying that's amazing. So there's kind of 2 ways of getting someone else to say you're amazing. One is obviously through places like PR and get into the press or the media, because then it looks like someone else is talking about you. Very often you've fed that information, but that's a little secret that the people reading the magazines don't often know. But that's the one side, is get other people to talk about you in that way. But probably more powerful than that is get people to talk about you by providing great service. So, I remember particularly in the early days, we'd kind of look through the customer list and you'd see, Mrs. Jones from 13 Smith Street, Richards Bay, and then a week later, Mrs. whoever else from 15 Smith Street, Richards Bay. And you go, oh, okay, well, there was a great day when my dad said that his neighbor told him about this wonderful site called Yuppiechef. And he had a sort of proud moment. That really is how you build the confidence, is you get other people to talk about you. It's very difficult for you to say, I'm a trustworthy guy. You can trust me. Give me your money. You can trust me, I'll send you your stuff. Whereas if you can get other people to do that, then it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah.
Should we do that? What's the next one?
Yeah. Is South Africa's slow uptake of e-commerce due to culture? Example, more conservative, wary of making payments online, or due to technology constraints? Example, lack of widespread, affordable internet access. It's actually quite a cool question.
I think that both of those are factors. The conservative way of making payments online. I think we never really had the mail order culture that particularly a place like America had. So when you've been very used to ordering stuff through a catalog and looking at a little picture and a tiny description saying I'll have one of those, the step to online was easier. Whereas in South Africa we've always been a kind of mall, go to a physical store place. So to an extent there has been a culture thing, and to an extent there has been technology constraints, the internet speed and things like that. But I think that those are largely excuses. I think the real reason is neither of those. The real reason is there's been nowhere to shop. I remember one day Shane coming in on a Monday and he said, I was so frustrated. I was trying to find something for camping, like where you can wash up your dishes. And I went to this store and this store and this store, and I couldn't find this was a couple of years ago, and I couldn't find it in any stores. I said, well, did you try online? He says, no, and I didn't even try online. I mean, this was our business. And then we thought, well, where would I go online to buy a camping fold-up thing? It's not because of technology constraints. It's not because of a culture. It's because there was nowhere to buy something like that. And that's changed in the very recent past. But I think that it's been a chicken and egg thing where particularly the traditional retailers, they are the best set up to do online. They have the brand credibility. They have a customer base that they can speak to. They have a supply chain. They have products. And yet they have said for the last 15 years, nobody shops online. And so they don't build anything. And so nobody shops online. And so they don't build anything. So that has slowly started to change now. But even I read in this week, Pick and Pay, they're online shopping doing well. They're having 2,000 customers a week. Pick and Pay, it's 2014, and Pick and Pay has 2,000 online. I mean, you could probably throw a stone and hit 2,000 people from where we are here. And that's how many people Pick and Pay has managed to convince to shop online in the whole country. I think we've got a long way to go. Basically building good quality sites, and then the rest is not as much of a problem.
Well, Webvan, they try to do the whole food thing. It was also a bit of a...
Do you remember the Dot Koza guy? He's a guy who kind of lived in a house and said he's only going to...
he was on Carte Blanche back in the day.
And he was only going to live off stuff that he could buy, and I think he nearly died.
I think if you try that now, it might work.
Now
it might work,
but shame.
That was very early in the... I remember that guy. Have you ever had any major dramas that could have caused the death of Yuppiechef in the early days?
Well, I think in the early days we were moving so slowly that nothing could really... I mean, if we... December 2006, remember we launched in August. There were no sales in December 2006. So, I mean, we kind of were dead. It was sort of like there was a blip on the line. So it depends what you define as early days. And I mean, I guess that was an advantage, that we couldn't do anything bad enough to mess us up because it was really slow. I mean, there obviously are horror stories over the days. There was a day that we had a product that somehow got live and it cost R1. And so people bought it, and then we had to sort of explain that unfortunately we can't send that to you for R1. And so there's been dramas along the way, but nothing necessarily that would be bad enough to kill us as such.
How do you think digital marketing is changing in the emerging markets?
Well, it's certainly becoming more competitive. I think that you've got people throwing money at... if you talk about paid digital marketing, which I assume that what that means, you've got people throwing money at things without necessarily demanding a return. And it's actually one of the sadnesses I find as someone who wants to... We want to employ developers, whoever's watching this here or out there, developers, designers. We want to employ skills to do that, and we want to obviously use digital marketing channels. And sometimes they get flooded by big brands who kind of lumbering around, not knowing what they're doing. And it makes me sad when you see sort of a big brand going to an agency, giving a ton of money, building some kind of microsite or some sort of little app, which at the end of the day does nothing. And it's just a tiny... For them, it's a small portion in their overall budget, but they've almost used up the valuable resources that South Africa has, either in the development and design or in the space and customers' airwaves or through the marketing channels. And you kind of want some of that to be diverted to people building real things that are actually legitimate in their own way. So that is one of the challenges, I think, is that the only people with money in a market like South Africa are potentially big brands who are not doing amazing things online, and whereas the people who have opportunities because they're trying to build a startup get kind of squashed out because of that. Might not be answering the question, but a little side rant.
We're starting to run out of time.
Okay.
So we also know that one or two questions. How many rewrites, redesigns of the back end and site have you done since the start of Yuppiechef.com? And are you still involved with that process?
Well, I mean, we entered the Bookmark Awards a couple of years ago under the e-commerce category, and when you're filling out the form, it said, "When was your e-commerce store finished?"
Never.
Because I think they wanted to award, the 2011 award to the site that was finished in 2011. And I think that is kind of a mindset sometimes, again, back to the sort of agency model where a brand says, we've got this budget, build us this thing, now it's finished. And you go to the site and it says news, 9th of August 2009, new site goes live. And that's the only thing that was ever posted to the news page, because they are more based on project mindsets. We've always done all of the design and development ourselves internally, all the back-end systems and the front-end systems. So we're continuously in development. There's rollouts. We push multiple times a day. We actually, just before, on our way here, we went live with a new header. If you look at Yuppiechef now, it has a new header, literally like as we were getting in the car. So there's development all the time. I am still involved in that process, and so is Shane. I mean, that is the fundamental crux of our business is the site. So we're still involved in that, with various aspects of it. So.
And you actually code?
I do some coding. It's my background, and it's something that I like because it's something practical and tangible.
I suppose you go through a task, look for the easiest and say, okay,
no, the hardest. We've actually got one of our developers here in the room, so I take the hardest projects, definitely the hardest tasks.
Good boss,
No, I do, because I think that I'm the MD of the company, so I get a lot of a lot of what I do is in meetings and with outside people and inside people, and sometimes you can get to the end of the day and what have I achieved? I just spent the whole day talking to people, the email, whereas I like coding because you get to the end of the day and here's something I've done. So I just still do a bit of that, yeah.
What's your opinion on e-commerce platforms like Shopify? Do you benefit greater from a custom product?
I think that Bug Zapper, actually, when we stopped it and it was taken over by the supplier, and we helped him set up on Shopify. And actually, we sort of helped him, but he did it himself. And within literally one day, you could buy Bug Zappers on a new site. I think there are fantastic platforms for getting off the ground, and Shopify is one of them, but there's others. And I think that too often people spend too long building tech before they go live. And someone will come and speak to us. I got this great idea. I want to sell swimming gear online. And a year later, yes, I'm still building. I'm working with these developers, and it's costing me a fortune. And just go live. I define e-commerce on its most basic level as a sales pitch with a contact method. You could go today, something like Woofu. Go today if you want to sell. Let's say we want to sell those things online. You go to
Amazon's store,
okay, but let's say something similar, but not exactly that online. You go to Woofu, you could put a picture of that there, and you could say 100 Rand each, fill in your contact details, and I'll let you know, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah,
You're doing e-commerce, whereas you could spend a year trying to build a system from scratch. So I recommend something like Shopify. Just get live, start selling this evening.
When you start getting the problems of server overload, etc., then you can start looking.
Yeah, and maybe not even. I think that we had the skills ourselves, and so we do it ourselves. But maybe keep going. I mean, or other systems like Magento, which are they're not hosted like Shopify. You host it yourself and go for it. But some of those things they're deceptively complex in that what you want to do, you end up having to sacrifice and say, well, that would be nice, but we can't do it. Whereas when we build a custom system, we can do whatever we want, except we have to do everything ourselves, which is the downside.
How do you balance growth and culture?
No, is this Steve's question? Steve. I think what the intention behind that question is, I think I know what the intention is behind that question, and there's a temptation to want to grow team. I think that's sort of what you mean by growth, but then you've got the kind of culture to base, and we know that very directly because we were a very small team. We could all fit around a coffee table, and we had this thing called social teas. So you could offer everyone in the company a cup of tea and make it for them, and then say it's waiting for you in the lounge, and we'd all come together and have the tea. And in fact, before that, we were in my lounge in Plumstead, and the employees would swim in my pool and they would eat at my kitchen table. So we know what it's like to go from that to now we have 78, I think, people. Maybe 80 people, somewhere around that. And that's been over the space of a few years. So we have grown. And you do lose some things. You don't know everybody as well, or hopefully we know everybody because we're all in one building, but you don't know everyone as well as you do. And you start getting groups of people who know each other better. And you've got to kind of get used to that. That's fine. You are going to have different clumps of people who, these guys like cycling, and these guys like surfing, and these guys like doing crafts in the evenings. And so they're going to have almost subcultures within it. And that is difficult. What in terms of how we balance those things is just to take a lot of care and thought before hiring, and that's particularly tricky in hiring difficult to hire people like developers or designers. So the circle of people who can do what you need them to do, and the circle of people who match your culture, and you got to try and overlap them. And there only are sort of a handful of these people and a handful of these people. So to get that overlap is tricky. And so we've at times just sacrificed growth in terms of, well, we'd like to do more, we'd like to charge down faster, but if we can't find the right people, we kind of a test that we borrowed from Innocent Drinks in the UK in their book. It's a very good book, The Innocent Drink Story, and they speak about if you had to sit in the back of a bakkie, well, they don't use bakkie, they use truck, but for an 8-hour trip, would you be able to do that with the person that you were hiring? Because if you wouldn't want to do that, you would be repulsed by the idea of spending 8 hours in a bakkie, then don't hire them. And it's a test that we've tried to have, and I can honestly say that.
So you actually get into a truck and with a bunch of beers,
we drive around and
Kuruman to live off the spatula.
No, but we do, tomorrow morning we have a monthly breakfast, and tomorrow morning's our breakfast, and it's the whole company together. And I can honestly say that anyone in the company, I could sit next to them and have a conversation with them and be pleasantly enjoying the time together, because we have really handpicked everyone who works for us.
Cool.
Is that it?
That's it for now. We have got that Twitter competition.
Okay.
So Wonder Woman, our very own community builder, you can see her quite with the red hair. She's going to be doing the Twitter competition. Can you tell us? Yes.
Is this thing on? Okay. Well, first and foremost, thanks so much, Andrew. It's really inspiring what you've been teaching us tonight. And just a shout out to everybody who's been tweeting Yuppiechef grinds. We are the #1 featured and trending hashtag in Cape Town tonight. So score.
Well done, guys.
So a lot of interesting things were said around e-commerce, which I think a lot of us found very exciting, especially because there's a lot of myth surrounding e-commerce in South Africa. And one of the tweets that I really enjoyed was from the Green Elephant collection, and she said, now imagine the Ghostbusters theme tune playing. When there's a pest in town, who are you going to call? Yuppiechef. So yeah, a lot of interesting things. So thanks for that. But the tweet that really won my heart tonight was from the Mommy Mentor. She said that Yuppiechef started by selling the bug zapper. It's not where you go. It's not where you, sorry. It's where you go, not where you start.
Yeah,
that's very good.
Yeah,
Can she
Mommy
come up
Mentor.
here? There we go.
Where's the Mommy Mentor?
There we go. Come forward. Okay, you are lucky winner of a 500 Rand voucher from Yuppiechef.
Ah, well done.
And you get to, your prize. There we go. You get a little Jaws the fish. Awesome. Pleasure, yeah. Thank you. Well done to her. And we've got the fish bowl. The fish bowl. There we go, Bruce. He's the guy that met you as you came in. Made sure you had your tickets. There we go. I see some lastminute.com cards going in there. Anyone? Any takers? There we go. So, here we go. Here we go. That's it. There we go. Andrew, you get to draw a...
No.
Oh, look here. Quickly, Felix. Quickly. There we go.
Let's take that one.
Cool. You get to draw one. There we go. Shop star, gents. There we go. Come forth, my man. These guys are based in a Cliff Street, and they do online sales as well. Online store, right?
Build your shop online
Yeah.
today and
That's
start
it.
selling tonight.
There we go, gents. Congratulations. Well done.
Well done.
Awesome. There we go. Cool. And you also get to win. Yeah, this is the big one. This is our mascot.
Oh, so he can't have that one.
No, you can't have that one. No. This is our one.
I would have given it to you.
Well done, gents. Okay, guys. Andrew, thank
Yeah.
you very, very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
the
you
invite.
spending the time and telling us and training. I hope you guys got some useful information out of you. I don't want to go too information. So we'd just like to say thanks to you guys. We have got a shout out, though, to Stephanie Brummer. Can she please stand? Stephanie,
She's
where is she?
won the prize, didn't she?
Oh. Now, Stephanie won the prize, and she gave up air supply tonight to come here.
Oh.
That's impressive. Thank you very much. Shout out to you. There you go. Excellent. Actually, the two shout outs I wasn't due tonight both have won prizes. So, yeah. So, Andrew, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There we go. And everybody can please give a round of applause for Andrew. There we go. Yeah, where's the fish? Andrew. Our community builder must give us a prize. Where's the prize?
It's right there. I left it for you.
Yeah.
Where? Oh my gosh. Okay, I didn't even see that. Sorry. I'm sorry. This is for you.
Oh, thank you.
Your very
Is it a
own-
500 Rand Yuppiechef voucher?
No, unfortunately not. You get your very own
A fish, thank
fish.
you.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Right. Where am I now? Okay. So once again, thanks to our sponsors, Atlantic Imbizo, for sponsoring this venue, Silicon Cape for helping us with the advertising, Uber, Woo Themes, Pay Fast. In fact, Jonathan is here. Where's Jonathan? There he is, over there. And We got Kilowatt AV for this, doing the amazing sound and the lighting and all the technical requirements. Really, guys, very professional. Thank you very, very much. Tribe Coffee sponsored us the coffees as you came in, so that was really awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. What's going to happen now is you're going to have some more networking. There's some drinks at the bar there. The bar guy is ready to roll. And yeah, we close up shop at about 9, 9:30. Chill, enjoy it. And guys, thank you very, very much for coming to start off.